We often find ourselves wandering, untethered to a clear sense of direction, overwhelmed by the demands of modern life. That feeling of being lost, adrift, is not unfamiliar to most of us. Yet, this sensation, this uncertainty, is not new. It has haunted humanity throughout the ages. And like those who came before us, we seek answers. We ask, what is my purpose? Why am I here? But the more we ask, the more elusive the answer becomes. Our minds get clouded by doubt, by the cacophony of voices around us. Society, peers, media, all of them scream their versions of what we should do, of who we should be. And in trying to meet these expectations, we lose sight of ourselves, of our deeper, truer selves. It's in times like these that the ancient Stoic philosophy, though old as the hills, becomes more relevant than ever. The Stoics, those men of wisdom, resilience, and virtue, confronted the same existential questions. They, too, knew the anguish of feeling lost. But their approach was different from ours. Where we seek external validation and guidance, they turned inward. They found their true north within themselves, in the power of reason, virtue, and resilience. As we stand at the crossroads of confusion, the Stoics offer a guiding hand, a path that is timeless, transformative, and deeply empowering. The nature of feeling lost. Before we can understand the Stoic solution to feeling lost, we must first comprehend the nature of this feeling. What does it mean to be lost? It is, at its core, a disconnect, a separation between our actions and our sense of purpose. It is when we find ourselves wandering aimlessly through life, our efforts scattered, our motivations unclear. But Stoicism tells us that this sense of being lost is not due to the complexity of the world or the enormity of our problems. Rather, it stems from our inner disarray. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." What we feel is not dictated by external circumstances, but by our internal perceptions. We may feel lost because we let our minds wander into the realm of fear and doubt. We may feel purposeless because we expect purpose to be delivered to us, neatly packaged, by the world around us. But here lies our mistake. Purpose is not something we find outside, it is something we cultivate within. It is not handed to us by society, but shaped by the choices we make and the actions we take. In the Stoic view, the feeling of being lost is not a sign of defeat, but a sign that we have yet to take full control of our minds. We have yet to align our actions with our true nature. And in this lies our potential for transformation. Stoic path to purpose. To understand how the Stoics found their purpose, we must first understand how they viewed life. For the Stoics, the purpose of life was simple: to live in accordance with nature, to cultivate virtue, and to exercise reason. These were not abstract ideals but practical guidelines for everyday living. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, taught that true fulfillment comes from living in harmony with the natural order of things. This does not mean surrendering to fate, but rather recognizing that we are part of a larger whole. We are not isolated beings, but connected to the universe, to nature, and to each other. Our purpose, therefore, is not selfish, it is rooted in the common good, in contributing to the greater whole. But how do we achieve this? How do we find our place in the world, our purpose? The Stoics believed that the answer lies in cultivating virtue, specifically, the four cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These virtues are the foundation upon which a meaningful life is built. Wisdom is the ability to see things as they are, to discern truth from falsehood, and to make sound judgments. It is the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, for without wisdom, we are lost in the maze of confusion and ignorance. Courage is the strength to face adversity, to confront our fears, and to persevere in the face of hardship. It is through courage that we overcome the obstacles that stand between us and our purpose. Justice is the recognition of our interconnectedness with others. It is the commitment to fairness, to treating others with dignity and respect. A life lived solely for oneself is not a life of purpose, for we are part of something greater. Temperance is the practice of self-control, of mastering our desires and impulses. It is through temperance that we free ourselves from the tyranny of our emotions, from the destructive forces of anger, envy, and greed. By cultivating these virtues, we align ourselves with our true nature and the natural order of the universe. We stop looking for purpose outside of ourselves and start creating it within. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. The Stoic way is about reclaiming that power, about taking responsibility for our own lives, our own purpose. The power of self-control. One of the central tenets of Stoicism is the belief in the power of self-control. For the Stoics, the greatest obstacle to finding purpose was not the external world, but the internal chaos of our emotions. Destructive emotions like fear, anger, envy, and despair cloud our judgment, distort our perceptions, and lead us astray. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Our emotions, particularly our negative ones, often magnify our problems, making them seem larger and more insurmountable than they are. When we allow these emotions to take control, we become lost, not because of our circumstances, but because of our inability to see things clearly. But the Stoics believe that we are not slaves to our emotions. We have the power to master them through reason and self-discipline. By exercising self-control, we can rise above the storm of emotions and see the world with clarity. We can make decisions based on reason, not on fear or anger. And in doing so, we can find our way, even in the darkest of times. This is not an easy path. It requires constant vigilance, constant practice. As Musonius Rufus wisely said, "Practice yourself, for heaven's sake, in little things, and thence proceed to greater." We must train ourselves in the small moments of life, when anger flares, when fear grips us, to respond with calm, with reason, with self-control. Over time, these small acts of discipline accumulate, shaping us into people of resilience and strength. Overcoming destructive emotions. At the heart of Stoicism is the belief that destructive emotions are the greatest enemies of a fulfilled life. When we are consumed by anger, jealousy, fear, or sadness, we lose our ability to think clearly. We lose sight of our purpose. We become reactive, impulsive, and disconnected from our true nature. But the Stoics remind us that these emotions are not inevitable. They are not forces beyond our control. As Epictetus taught, it's not the things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Our emotions are the result of how we perceive and interpret the events around us. If we change our perceptions, we can change our emotions. This is where the practice of mindfulness comes into play. The Stoics were, in many ways, the original mindfulness practitioners. They believed in the importance of being present, of observing our thoughts and emotions without being controlled by them. By cultivating mindfulness, we can catch our destructive emotions in the moment, before they take hold of us. We can pause, reflect, and choose how to respond. For the Stoics, this is not about suppressing emotions, but about transforming them. When anger arises, we do not deny it, but we examine it. We ask ourselves, what is the source of this anger? Is it justified? Is it serving us? More often than not, we find that our anger is based on misunderstandings, on irrational judgments. And when we see this clearly, the anger dissipates. The same is true for fear, envy, and sadness. These emotions lose their power when we confront them with reason and self-awareness. In doing so, we free ourselves from their grip and regain control of our lives. The role of adversity. One of the most powerful lessons of Stoicism is the belief that adversity is not something to be avoided, but something to be embraced. The Stoics saw challenges, hardships, and setbacks not as obstacles to be feared, but as opportunities for growth. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, faced constant adversity throughout his life. He ruled during times of war, plague, and political unrest. Yet, in his meditations, he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." For the Stoics, adversity is not a roadblock, it is the path. This is perhaps one of the most counterintuitive aspects of Stoicism. In a world that teaches us to seek comfort, ease, and pleasure, the Stoics remind us that true purpose and fulfillment are found in overcoming challenges. It is through adversity that we develop strength, resilience, and wisdom. When we face hardship, we have a choice. We can succumb to despair, or we can rise to the occasion. The Stoics chose the latter. They saw every challenge as an opportunity to practice virtue, to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Living with purpose. In the end, the Stoic way to find purpose is not about grand revelations or external achievements. It is about the daily practice of living with intention, of cultivating virtue, and of exercising self-control. It is about aligning our actions with our true nature and contributing to the common good. As Zeno said, man conquers the world by conquering himself. When we master our emotions, when we cultivate wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we find our true purpose. We stop looking for meaning in the external world and start creating it within ourselves. Let us remember that the feeling of being lost is not a curse, but an opportunity. It is a call to look inward, to confront our weaknesses, and to find our true strength. Through the Stoic way, we discover that our purpose is not something to be found, but something to be created. And in doing so, we transform ourselves and the world around us. So, let us rise above the noise of the world. Let us conquer our destructive emotions. Let us, together, find our true purpose in the Stoic way.